Welcome to Chaos in the Lobby. My name is Spoonie Bard, and with me today is Matt Lowne, who is one of the most prolific Kerbal Space Program YouTubers over the last 10 years. So, Matt, welcome and thanks for joining me.
It's a good pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me on.
Obviously, I'd like to talk about Kerbal Space Program and its successors, but I'd first love to hear a bit about how your YouTube channel got started. When did you realize Kerbal was going to be the major focus of your channel?
So, I kind of didn't set out to build a YouTube channel, actually. It was kind of, I think regular viewers of my channel, like from years ago, kind of know the backstory at this point. But when I was at university, I was sent on lots of placements around the country to get like hospital clinical experience. And I stayed in some real dives. Like it was all like hospital accommodation. They were all terrible. There was very rarely any internet. And I had a really rubbish laptop that it claimed to have a graphics card, but it was not very good. So it couldn't really run any games. And obviously Steam, especially in like 2013, loads of DRM issues. But Kerbal Space Program was one of those games that it ran okay on my laptop and it didn't require an internet connection. So I kind of like got honed my skills playing KSP during those placement times, really. And then towards the end of my like final year of university, basically I was a member of the Kerbal Space Program subreddit. This is a really lame story, by the way. I noticed that some of the users would have a little flare next to their name saying Master Kerbal Naut and Super Kerbal Naut. And I was like, I want that. How do I get that next to my name? And so I found out that there was this thing called Reddit challenges. They're sadly no longer a thing, but I mean, this was 10 years ago. So where basically every week there'll be a challenge. For example, I don't know, make a fully reusable MUN mission, for example. And then you would submit it generally in the form of a photo album to show kind of you'd achieved each milestone, that you hadn't used cheats or anything. And I was reading the kind of the things you needed to include, and I was like, oh, that sounds really tedious, making sure I've got the right screenshots. I'll just make a funny video with to music and post it, and then that video will include everything, basically. So I posted it, and to me, this was viral. It got like 30,000 views in the space of a few weeks, which to me was like enormous. And so I was like, oh, this is cool. And so I got the flare Master coming on, and I was like, well, let's just do this again the next week and then the next week. And well, now it's been 10 years, and so it's kind of got a bit out of hand. But that's essentially how my channel accidentally got started, really. Yeah, that was a long answer, but that's the backstory to my channel.
No, I appreciate it. How long did it take you to realize that your channel had really gotten traction? Were your subsequent videos also getting 30,000 plus views?
I don't know. The first video, I was convinced I'll never get the same kind of views that first video did. And I didn't really for at least a year. But I started my channel using like copyrighted music. So I didn't make any money from my channel for at least a year and a half just because I was using copyrighted music. So there was no ability. There still isn't an ability, unless you're counting YouTube sort of shorts these days, to monetize any video that had copyrighted music. But then I sort of ran out of music and I kind of got a bit burned out making like music video edits. So I was like, I'll buy a blue snowball microphone and have a go at commentating, basically. So I was like, hey guys, I know this is different, but I'm going to try doing commentary instead of the music videos, just try and mix things up. And then people started enjoying those a bit more. And I remember, I know people don't like talking about YouTubers earning money, but I remember I finally got a paycheck from YouTube come in. And it was my rent at the time, because I was renting a single room in a house, was like £400 per month. And my paycheck from Google was 450. And I was like, oh, wait a second. I could make money on the internet like this. So I was like, oh my gosh, this could pay my rent. So then I started doing more commentaries. And then, yeah, I say like 2017, I kind of made it more of like I made more of an effort to make it a more routine upload. I don't remember the exact dates around things. It was a while ago now, but that's essentially it. Yeah.
And obviously, Kerbal Space Program 2 was announced. I think it was announced in like 2019 with a release date. Originally a release date of 2020. And I'm sure you were more than excited, just because not only is it the sequel to a game that you love, but it also has the potential for new content creation.
Oh yeah, I was like, sorry, can I interrupt you?
Oh no, go ahead.
And I was like, oh, this is great. Like, Kerbal Space Program was out for 4 years now, so it's been a while. This is going to be a great way to elongate my internet career. I was actually invited to, so long ago now, wasn't it? But it was revealed at PAX East, I want to say, or some PAX event. But no one was told there was going to be a KSP2 reveal because it was all very secretive. So I actually wasn't able to go to that because of my day job. I have clinics booked, so I have to give 6 to 8 weeks notice to take annual leave, and I was given 4 weeks notice for this event, so I couldn't go, unfortunately. So I was really gutted when I saw on YouTube, like, oh, it was the announcement of KSP2. I think initially I was confused because I was like, KSP2? Did there need to be a sequel? It's a bit like Minecraft 2, really. Like, what's it gonna really add that building upon KSP1 couldn't do? But my limited understanding of KSP1 is there are things it just cannot do, like Interstellar, certain graphics things, and like the way it's built, it was all built on spaghetti code. I saw your video actually with Felipe, or you've done a few actually, haven't you? Where he talked about how no one really knew how long the development of KSP1 would be, so it was just add stuff on top of it, and they just created this like spaghetti monster of a game, basically, where the code made no sense. So like, it'd be nice to have a game where we started from fresh and it was all built properly and optimized by a real game development team. And so that was I think that in my mind was kind of the appeal of KSP2, and obviously things like multiplayer, which again KSP1 can do, but it was kind of all a bit janky. If the game was built with it in mind from day one. I mentioned Interstellar as well, even though we now have Interstellar in KSP1, but I don't know if it would have been better implemented in KSP2. I don't know. We'll obviously never know, but yeah, and obviously we now know that KSP2 was not built on fresh code base. It was using the same code as KSP1.
Was multiplayer one of the features you were looking forward to the most? I know a lot of people were really looking forward to colonies.
To be honest, I was never that bothered about multiplayer, and I never really understood why everyone was so excited for it. Like, yeah, air battles and dogfights would be fun, but outside of that, I never really saw much of an appeal. I mean, from my cold-hearted business point of view, I could do collaborations with people and stuff like that, or like, subscriber events, things like that, but I never really saw KSP as really a game that needed multiplayer. So I was really interested when I heard that it was like one of their priorities when building the game. They were really going hard on, the multiplayer angle of things.
I completely agree. And a lot of people disagree with me when I say this, and I've said it in several videos now, but just multiplayer, I agree with you. Kerbal Space Program just never felt like a multiplayer game to me. I think it would be fun. Like you said, your friends would definitely try and sabotage your missions and blow up your rockets. And I could see the angle of building a ship with friends in the assembly bay. I think that part would be, for me at least, fun to kind of collaborate on building together. But outside of that, flying the missions and trying to solve the issue of like who controls the warp, and yeah, I didn't see that vision for it. When did you start to be concerned about the development pace of Kerbal Space Program 2? Because obviously, between the time of getting that first trailer and then hearing anything else about the development was years.
So I feel like no matter how many times I say it, people would never believe me, but I never really knew any more than the general public did. I was never under any NDA. I know Shadowzone made that video talking about some crazy NDA he was invited to sign, but I was never invited to sign, and I wouldn't sign anyway because it was ridiculous. So I think I first started having concerns. So I never really had concerns about the constant delays because, I don't know, Breath of the Wild was another example of a game that got delayed. Now that's heralded as one of the greatest games of all time. So I'm like, a delayed, was it Miyamoto that said that? A delayed game will eventually be good, but a rushed game will always be bad. So I was like, I'm happy for them to take their time. The first time I had, oh, that's interesting, was, I want to say September, October 2022. So a few months from the early access release, I got an email from someone at the company, like Intercept Games or a PR company they were working with, saying, would you like to have a Zoom call with Nate Simpson and a few other people from the team, talk about a really exciting thing that's coming up with KSP2? And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll do that. So then that meeting came around, and they showed me in confidence do you remember the developer diary things that they used to release before? It was the developer diary about releasing into early access. And this was the first time I heard that it was going to be an early access game. So I watched that, and I started seeing the bits where they were like, yeah, we're really excited to show early access. And they would show bits of gameplay, and it was still saying pre-alpha on the gameplay. I was like, we're still pre-alpha, and now we're talking about early access. And also, it's been a couple of years since the announcement. Granted, we did have a pandemic, so we can kind of forgive there being delays there. But that was the first time I was like, and then when the video ended, I was allowed to ask questions. And one of the questions I had was, I'm a little bit concerned that it's still saying pre-alpha gameplay. for a game that's going to be. And they say, no, when it releases, it's not going to be pre-alpha. It's going to be fully. It's not even going to be beta. It's going to be out early access. Obviously, now that we don't know what the performance of the pre-alpha build was like compared to what we got, but the performance wasn't great when it first came out. So that's when I first had concerns. And then the other sort of concern I had was when we went to the. So I guess for those that don't know, there was a kind of an event for YouTubers and the press. So like IGN was there, myself was there, like Scott Manley, EJSA, a few, Tim Dodd was there as well. We were all invited to go and play the game a couple of weeks before release. So we got this big like bank of gaming PCs. We could all sit down and have like 3 hours to play. I went in there like blinders on. I have to get 3 hours worth of. I want to get 3 videos out of this. So I was like trying to film as many missions as possible and knocking back caffeine and things like that. But so I was rushing through to kind of get the content made. But I remember, first of all, I was very happy when I pressed start game and there wasn't a massive loading screen. Everything was really, really quick. And then I went into the VAB builder. And the first thing I noticed was some of the features that I was really hoping KSP2 would fix from KSP1 was still there. So a big one for me was I always thought it was very silly that in KSP1, you have, for example, the Mark 1 liquid fuel tank, which is just the Mark 1 size tank that has just liquid fuel, and then an identical tank that has liquid fuel and oxidizer in it. Wouldn't it be great if it was just the one part to reduce the clutter on screen and you could just set which kind of fuel type it has? And I was really hoping that KSP2 would do that because that seems like, duh, right? There's loads of mods that fix that. And then I opened the build editor and it was like, Methalox tanks, liquid fuel tanks. It's like, oh, we've still got the same thing. And then another thing is that when I built my first rocket and I pressed launch and it just flexed into life and everything sort of wobbled. I was like, oh, they've still got wobbly rockets. Like I was hoping to like have them to really fine tune the parts list and have a bit more kind of procedural stuff and get rid of the wobble of KSP1. And obviously we know the whole story of wobbly rockets in KSP2. So those are one of my concerns as well. And so, yeah, so obviously I only had 3 hours of game time there, but I was able to sort of reflect on it. And I remember having a very long conversation with Tim Dodd, the everyday astronaut, at Amsterdam airport. So we all got dropped off at the airport and we were dropped off like 4 hours early. So I was just sitting in the departure lounge waiting. I looked across the room and I just saw a man in a bright orange everyday astronaut hoodie. And I was like, oh, and it was like, so we came to Saturday and we literally just sat for like 2-3 hours, just basically saying it's going to be a nightmare when this releases. Like there's going to be backlash. And I think the devs know this. I don't for a second believe that any of the developers chose to launch into early access. It was obviously a push from corporate, which obviously sucks. But at the same time, they were developing the game for 7 years. And the original KSP was in development for, 3-4 years, cobbled together by non-game developers releasing in 2015. So I also do see where Take-Two are coming from, where it's like, it's been 7 years. What have you been doing all of this time? Again, COVID, but yeah. So it's a weird thing, Casey. I don't think any of us will ever really truly know until these NDAs that the devs were under. If they ever elapse, we'll find something out then, but it's weird. It's kind of strange, the whole KSP2 thing. Don't know if that answered your question, but
No, you did. You definitely did. And I did get a chance to interview Nate Simpson. I'm not sure if you got a chance to watch that episode.
I did. I watched the Nate Simpson video, and I think you've done 3 videos with Felipe, right? I've definitely watched 2. But yeah, and I watched the one with Nate. I kind of knew what the Nate video was going to be like. Like, Nate's a really nice guy, but he can't say anything. So he can talk about how disappointed he is, but that's really all he can say. And it's not his fault, obviously, but we knew we were never going to really learn much information. But it was interesting hearing about his like comic endeavors and his new Courier game that I forget the name of now. But
Maelstrom, which was
that's it.
It was renamed to Pan-Galactic Postal Service.
Oh,
and
that's a better
name,
actually, I think. Anyway,
yeah, I think so too. Have you played the demo of it by chance?
To be honest, I did not know it was out yet. So
it's just
this cool.
It's just a demo so far. It's not out. In early
it's not like
that.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'll just have to check it out then in that case. But yes, I think Pan-Galactic Postal Service is a stronger name than Maelstrom because it sort of tells you a bit more about what the game is.
Yeah. I like the play on words. I like the pun of Maelstrom, but I agree. Pan-Galactic Postal Service, better name. but yeah, so when KSP2, announced that they were well, they didn't really announce they were ending development, but obviously,
No.
we got the warns came out and it became very clear that the game's development was ending. What was that like for you? Because obviously KSP2 was going to be a source of new content and it was going to play a huge role in the future of your channel. So I'm sure that was, I mean,
It was a blow. To be honest, it genuinely was unexpected. I genuinely did think the game would, at the very least, see colonies and the major bugs released, especially because we had so much hope when, if 4 Science hadn't come out, there was the last major update that fixed a bunch of things, added science mode, and brought the game almost feature par with the base KSP1 game, not including the DLC. So I think that really ignited a lot of people's hopes in the future of KSP2. So it was a bit of a shock when that warn notice did come out. We were all kind of hoping for a No Man's Sky type thing, but
yeah.
I mean, those player counts were always very bad. I think for the most of its time in release, there were more game developers working on it than there were active players, according to the Steam charts anyway. So
yeah, I was a little disappointed. 6 months went by in between a lot of these updates as we got. And when 4 Science came out, I remember that was the moment where I felt really concerned. I was like, okay, if you got 6 months and what you've added is, some bug fixes and a tech tree. And I mean, if it was an indie developer, I would have probably been a little bit more patient. But I felt, okay, they've got the backing of Take-Two. They're under Private Division. These are massive labels. And like you said, 7 years. And now we're getting this tech tree. And then it had been another 6 months and we hadn't heard a word. That's when I was like, okay, this one might be
I mean, it's interesting because I genuinely think like the addition of 4 Science, like playing that game, like I do think KSP2 Science mode is superior to KSP1 Science mode. Just the way the tech tree progressed, and you had the little monuments to find. There was a whole little story involved. Like I was genuinely intrigued, and I sometimes do think like I could just quickly fire it up and just try and get through just to see where the story goes. But obviously we know it's not going to be concluded because it would have continued into the deb system and beyond. So, but yeah, I do think the way it handled the science mode was better. Just the game itself was inferior, which is, well, the game itself was inferior. But it did bring a lot of promises. And like just the way the science experiments ran, like when the Kerbals took surface samples, you saw them get the little test tube out and scooped it and they looked at it. And like the science experiments themselves were very animated, and you press experiment, it wouldn't just be an instant thing. You'd watch a little animation of the thing doing its thing, and yeah, it was charming, and I really liked the way they did it. And I think that was always KSP2's strength, was I know not everyone liked the art design and things like that, but just the sound design and the graphics were always the really strong aspects of the game, at least for me. And that's obviously was what Nate pitched to Take-Two, wasn't it? He was the art guy. He showed loads of pictures and designs, but not much of the other side of things, which you could argue for a game like KSP. It's kind of more important to nail down the bare bones, which is why I'm very optimistic with the approach that Dean Hall and his team are taking with Kitten Space Agency, where they're really nailing down the framework first, and then they're building the game on top of it.
Yes.
So
I actually had a very similar experience. I mean, albeit on a much smaller scale. When my YouTube channel started, for people who've been subscribed to me for years now, they might remember I started by making Starbase. It was a game where you build spaceships and go out and you mine and kind of fight with them. And there was no tutorials or anything. It was really popular when it came out in early access. It had like 9,000 concurrent players. But the tutorials were just non-existent. So I started making tutorials for the shipbuilder. And over the 3 months or so that followed, the game's just no updates, and the player base just was dwindling and dwindling. And ultimately, the development has pretty much come to a standstill. I know that they had kind of jump started it about a year ago, and now it's once again just kind of dead in the water, unfortunately. But yeah, I completely agree. This approach by Dean Hall of building it from the ground up, which he pitched, and the pitch leaked. I don't know if you had a chance to ever look at it. I found it on Reddit because he had mentioned it, and I did post it in the description of my interview with Dean Hall. And like he mentioned,
Works one.
Yeah, it
was a very technical document. Yeah,
and there was literally no artwork, which they said was probably part of what hurt them. But yeah, I'm really excited to see where this goes. Is there any features that you're hoping to see in Kitten Space Agency that maybe weren't talked about for KSP2 or just haven't been mentioned at all?
I don't know.
No.
Having like the colonies for KSP2 was one thing I was really excited for, and the whole idea of having supply routes. So I actually did a video recently. When I say recent, I mean 2 days ago, where I built a mining ship at a space station around a wormhole at Dres. The mining ship goes down, refuels, goes back to the space station, restocks the space station, and can go down indefinitely. And in KSP2, you could just do that journey once and then say, right, game, repeat this journey for me, and it would automatically keep the station topped up, and you can have a big network of things across the I guess the galaxy, because there's multiple star systems. Like, I'm a big fan of things like Planet Crafter and Factorio, and automating things in those games was immensely satisfying. So I was really looking forward to things like that. So if that's within the scope of what, you know, Dean Hall and his team want to include it with Kitten Space Agency, that would be something that's really cool. But honestly, just like KSP but better would be great, because KSP, it does kind of show its age. I know mods have made it, you know, incredible, but it is a dated game in a lot of ways. So having a more modern version of it, and then having all those quality of life features that we wanted from KSP2 incorporated into KSA, that would be great.
Yeah. It's interesting because everybody kind of has a different idea about what colonies look like and how they function within the game. And I did ask Dean about that, and we've gotten some limited information, and he said that he was really focused, at least for him, on the logistics of it. So it sounds like, you know, exactly as you've just described is hopefully what we will see. And I'm like you, I want the like resource and mining and automation parts of it expanded, like you said. If you're enjoying this podcast, make sure to subscribe for more. And if you want to support me and my channel, you can do so through Patreon or by joining my channel here on YouTube, where you'll get members only exclusives like early access to new episodes, members only videos and extras. Plus, you'll be helping me focus on getting my next guest and creating new content. I don't think we have seen a more transparent game development, at least in the last, you know, since Kerbal Space Program was pretty transparent, but it really does feel like we're getting updates after updates after updates for Kitten Space Agency.
It's funny that this was the question you asked, because this was what I was going to say when you were talking. I couldn't think what it was. So brilliant. Yeah, it's a real breath of fresh air from coming from KSP2. So KSP1, when it was developed, there was an NDA that all of us YouTubers signed so we could get early access to updates and things. But it was nowhere near the extreme degree of KSP2 secrecy where, well, the NDA was sent to us over Skype, and then we were just added to a big Skype chat, and then the harvester would say, hey, this is what we're working on, and then when he left, the other devs would say, this is what we're working on. They just post pictures in Skype and things like that. It was super duper relaxed. And then obviously KSP2, I was never privy to anything really. What I told you earlier about finding out about early access ahead of the public, and obviously getting to play KSP2 a week early. That was basically the only ever time I was privy to knowledge that the general public wasn't. I can't think of any other times where us content creators were any more informed than the general public. Meanwhile, Kitten Space Agency is like the complete opposite. I remember, so obviously the public build went live a couple of weeks ago now. On the day it went live, I wanted to publish a video, say, look, it's gone live. This is me playing it. This is the kitten that you control. I think his name was Hunter or something. And I had the video ready, and I was messaging Dean on this. Is it definitely going to go live on Friday? Because I'm going to publish on Friday, but I don't want to like void anything. He goes, and he just said, oh, there's no NDA. Just publish it whenever you want. Publish it now. And I was like, what do you mean? He goes, yeah, there's no embargo. Just publish whatever you want to publish. And I'm like, oh, really? I'm not going to get sued or anything. So that's like a huge difference. I mean, to be fair, I think that's very abnormal. Like, that's very, very chill, but I'm not going to complain about it being abnormally chill to work with the dev team as a creator.
Yeah. It's been when they first I got a message from Dean Hall, and he invited me to play the industry pre-alpha, and that was my question too. I was like, can I just make a let's play of this, or can I show the debug editor? Can I show the settings that are available? And yeah, it was really refreshing. They were just like, just show off whatever you want. Just don't give away, don't provide it for people to download for themselves. Don't give away the link.
I was about to say, I don't know if anyone watching knows, but when you click the link to download the KSA alpha, that was how we downloaded it. They just said, here's the link to download. I was like, oh, so I could just give this link to anyone and they could download it. And then when it went to public, the link was unchanged. It was still just the same website. I was like, That's kind of funny that they didn't care that much about security then, did they?
No, there was no password either. I was, because it was just
I
KSA.
thought there'd be at least a password or a raw file with a password, but literally they just downloaded it. Oh, this is there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the link was really easy to guess. It was ksa.awu.com, which is still the link for people who want to play it. You can go to just ksa.awu.com, ahwoo.com. And that was the link. It was really, I'm shocked more people didn't find it just somehow.
I was surprised that someone didn't post on Reddit, or like a YouTuber or someone like didn't just leak it, because like how would they be traced it back to them? It was just a link that anyone could have had. But I guess, I don't know, it was not really a game, and it certainly wasn't a game back then. Like, it was just a tech demo. So I think maybe if it was a lot more fleshed out, like if it was the game, then people would have it probably would have leaked, but it was just a tech demo. And it still is a tech demo. That's not a criticism. I'm very happy with the status of it, but that's all it really is at the moment.
For Brutal, I think, and I've been really impressed with the performance. I mean, granted, I am playing it on a 4090, so my machine's fairly beefy, but I mean, the instantaneous ability to switch between planets and craft or anything else has really blown me away. There's not even a moment of stutter between, going from Mars to Earth to the moon to your ship to another ship. I have been absolutely blown away with the progress, and especially now in like an era where it feels like we're being constantly disappointed by these games that build up all this hype and then they just kind of fall flat. And it makes me think back. I mean, probably like you, I grew up in an era of what I considered to kind of be this like golden age of gaming, where it was just classic after classic after classic. Ocarina of Time, Age of Empires, StarCraft, Diablo, Doom. I mean, and I can go on. It really just felt like there was something in the water back then. And I don't know if it was maybe that, when you got a game, you couldn't just go and get another game. Your parents had gone and taken you and you bought it. And if you didn't like it, you couldn't be like, oh, it's 15 minutes later, let's go get a different one. That was not going to be okay.
Yeah, I think also, like, once the game ships, that's it. There's no patching it or anything, so it has to work. Like, I think there were a couple of games where there was like a second edition where they fixed some game-breaking thing, but for the most part, a game had to be done. And especially in the NES days, like, adjusted for inflation, like the original Legend of Zelda was, actually, I don't want to pull it out of the thin air, but it was over $100 basically in real terms.
The only game I really think that was truly unplayable at the time that I played was, I got really excited when the Superman Nintendo 64 game came out.
Right, you really just dived in and picked the example.
The example, yeah. And I think that was my first example, or my first experience with a what I think now was just a cash grab. I think they knew that game was just a dog. It was bad. It was just, there was nothing fun about it. You could play it for 15 minutes and it got stale and the mechanics were clunky. But so other than Kerbal, I guess, if you had to choose one game that you would have maybe focused on, what game would that be?
Oh, on my channel, you mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess I did do a lot of Planet Coaster content for a bit. So you could say that. Like, I love simulation games. I mean, the real answer here is Fortnite or Rocket League, and then I'd be a millionaire living in a mansion, but such is life. But no, I mean, I guess it has to be a game you enjoy, right? Like, I remember seeing like burnout of the Call of Duty YouTubers back in the day. Like, they did not seem like happy people. Well, there are exceptions, but that was just grueling. Like, playing some competitive game, like, I think it would just be so draining. Whereas you can't really be bad at Kerbal Space Program. I mean, you can, but like, there's not like, if you play Call of Duty, you never get any kills ever. No one's going to want to watch that, basically. Whereas if you're bad at Kerbal Space Program, you can sort of like have fun with it, basically. Like Danny 2462's stuff, for example. Like, I'm not saying he's a bad player of the game, but it's not like a super duper, he needs to spend hundreds of hours honing his craft to make those videos. He was just making funny videos. And so I think I like the kind of chilled out experience of Kerbal Space Program. Planet Coaster, like, so there are some people who just make insane stuff. But again, you can't really be bad at that game. So yeah, things like that. And I think that's just the games I played when I was growing up, like Roller Coaster Tycoon 2, played that loads, and then RCT 3 as well. So I guess they kind of just pulled from like my childhood. I don't really know what inspired me to get KSB. I think I saw it. I saw it on Node Gaming. anyone remembers that, it was Freddie W's like gaming channel. I was like, oh, that looks fun. I'll just get that in a Steam sale just on a whim. But it's funny, just going back to what you were saying earlier about, when we were young and buying games. Wasn't it crazy how, I don't know, you might have been different, maybe you were smarter than me, but I would just like pick up a game in a shop and base my purchase entirely on the box art and what the back of the box said. And that was it. And I just bought the game. So, yeah, there were some that, like I bought the Incredibles tie-in game on GameCube, and that was a bit... I remember it being good, but it probably wasn't objectively very good.
I don't think I played that one, but yeah, like you said, I would, we'd go to the store and I would just find, that's how I found Age of Empires. I just happened to pick it up. That's how I found Diablo. I just liked the cover art. I thought that was really cool, the skull and the fire. And the only game I think I bought because a friend of mine had really pushed it to me was StarCraft. And that was one that I had kind of drug my feet on. I was like, I don't know. And I finally gave it a chance. And then StarCraft was, I think, the game that really got me into playing games more and more as StarCraft came out, and then Brood War. Because I remember going over to my friend's house, and he had like a LAN set up with like 3 or 4 computers because his whole family was really into it, and I thought that was so cool. And we would play against his dad, who would just mass carriers every single time. And so I had to try and learn to use the defilers to try and beat his dad, which we could never do. He was just so much better than us. And so those kind of games, like I said, there was just these classics that were coming out, and I don't know if it's now that there's just so many games that come out. For example, every month now, it seems like there's more games than used to come out in several years.
Just indie is so much easier now. Like, it's so easy to make like a Unity game now. Saying there's someone that's never made one, I don't know. But looking at the amount of content on the Steam store coming out and things like that. And I guess just, coding, like the original Roller Coaster Tycoon was made in assembly. Whereas now we have much more friendly programming languages and things like Unity and Unreal that makes it a lot easier. And then also you got Dean Hall building Brutal from scratch. So I don't really know what kind of point I'm trying to make here. But I never really played the real-time strategy games. I didn't really have a gaming... Well, my family, I should say, didn't really have a gaming PC. And then when I left university, I had a second-hand laptop that had some really rubbish mobile graphics card. It couldn't really run much. And then when I got my first gaming PC, playing Kerbal Space Program, I was like, oh my god, it could go at 60 frames per second. I was just literally loaded the space station, just moving the mouse around, whizzing around, going, this is so smooth. So most of my gameplay was, I had a Sega Mega Drive, or like Genesis, it was sold as in the United States. And then I skipped everything and went straight to GameCube. Then I had Nintendo Wii, like everyone. And then PlayStation 3. And then laptop until I had money, and I built a gaming PC. And so that was my history with gaming. So yeah, most of my stuff was just the Nintendo stuff growing up. So on GameCube, like Hit and Run, what a game.
Oh yeah.
Why there's not been a sequel made to that? I would rather have a Hit and Run 2 than a KSP 2. I'm just putting it out there.
Really?
Maybe that's going a bit too far, but yeah, it's crazy they never made a sequel to that.
Yeah, but speaking of games that like Hit and Run and I guess Kerbal Space Program, these games that did have such a lasting impact, and how they seem to be a little bit less common now. It's funny how when Kerbal Space Program came out, there was all of these games that somehow managed to hit that market, and that Minecraft had just come out, Kerbal Space Program, Prison Architect had just come out.
Well, it was one of the first early access games, wasn't it? Kerbal Space Program.
Yeah, it was Kerbal Space Program, Prison Architect, and there was another one, and I had looked it up, but now I can't think of it.
Well, Minecraft was the one I think that started the whole... Maybe there were obscure ones for that, but Minecraft was the one that really supplanted the whole concept of early access. And then Steam jumped on board, and yeah, I know the Prison Architect was definitely one of the other early access games. And I don't remember any others.
But I mean, it's just interesting that maybe it comes in waves. Maybe there's these waves of periods, because there was that period of all these really influential games that kind of sparked this subgenre, like Prison Architect. I don't want to say RimWorld was inspired from it, but I mean, you can kind of see some influence there, at least in my opinion. But since then, we've kind of have these periods where there's not, and now I think KSA really has the potential to be another one of those games that really has a lasting impact. Do you see yourself shifting more to a Kitten Space Agency focused channel once the game releases, or do you think you'll continue to come out with Kerbal?
It really depends. I must admit, I wish, obviously I'm rooting for its success, I am a little bit skeptical about Dean's aversion to using Steam. I totally get why he doesn't like Steam as a platform and wants to kind of not be on it, but I do think that's going to really hold the game back, and the concept of the game being free and relying on donations. And they've made a crazy amount of money on this release, but that's not... The money's going to run out fast when you're having to pay for staff, things like that. So I'm skeptical of Kitten Space Agency's current funding and planned release model. I would love to be proven wrong on this. And I know Dean has said that they will reconsider things like Steam if it turns out this model they're going for doesn't work out. But yeah, it's an interesting approach. I don't know if it's going to hold it back. And I don't know. I mean, Kerbal Space Program is such an enormous legacy. Like, it's still, to this day, breaks the top 100 most sold games on Steam. It's one of the most highest rated games on Steam. Like, it's going to be very, very hard to dethrone that. Because although it's an old game, like I say, the StarCraft scene is still huge on YouTube, and like League of Legends. These are all old games now. I know they've had updates, but yeah.
Well, they're 15 plus years old now. So, I mean, yeah.
I mean, Roller Coaster Tycoon. There's like I see channels posting Roller Coaster Tycoon 1 tutorials, and they have like 6-figure views, and it's like crazy that people still play. I mean, it's a good game. I love Roller Coaster Tycoon, but it's crazy that there's the staying power of some of these titles.
Yeah,
and we mentioned Hit and Run. That's had a bit of a resurgence because someone's made a Futurama mod.
That's right. I did see that.
Have you seen it? It's insane.
Yeah, I haven't played it, but it's on my list of things to try and get going.
I literally turned off the Let's Play because I'm like, I just want to play this. Like, so.
Did you play it?
I haven't played it yet. No.
Yeah, I haven't played it. Okay.
I've actually just started playing The Witcher 3, which I hadn't played before. So I should probably, because it's my girlfriend's favorite game, and she's forcing me to play it. And it's good, but that's what I'm doing at the moment, in addition to KSP.
Yeah, The Witcher 3, I remember when it was huge when it came out, and everybody loved it. And I'm like you, I haven't played it. I played.
It's very good.
I played. I think it was called Wild Hunt, Witcher 2, whichever one that was. I did play
Witcher
a little bit.
Witcher 3 is Wild Hunt.
Witcher 3 is Wild Hunt. Okay, yeah. Witcher 2 I did play a little bit of, but I just didn't really get into it like some of my friends have.
So I've heard that kind of The Witcher 1 and 2 were like good, but middle of the road type games, whereas Witcher 3 was like what? Like, it was like no one was expecting Bethesda to lose Best RPG and Best Game of the Year at the Game Awards, and Witcher 3 just smoked Fallout. It was Fallout 4, and everyone, I remember it was like a shocking thing. Like, wait, Fallout 4 didn't win Best RPG. This random game called The Witcher won it. So yeah, no, I was always told that like basically you have to set aside a weekend to play it because it's kind of complicated, but the game really baby steps you through it. Like, look, this is what you can do. This is what you do. Here is a boss enemy that's practically nailed to the floor for you to try and kill. And so it really teaches you the basics really, really well. So then now, okay, I've started playing, but I'm not too overwhelmed.
No.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. What advice would you give to people who are planning to start their own gaming channel?
I don't want the competition. Don't bother. Just subscribe to me. No, I mean, it's tricky because, like I said, I never really set out to make a gaming channel. I just sort of accidentally ended up with one. So I can't, I'm not sure what kind of advice to give there. I mean, when I first started out, I felt like I had to post my videos to the KSP subreddit for them to get traction. I think I wasn't really able to solely rely on YouTube's algorithm to push videos until I was maybe about 5,000 subscribers, when I could guarantee 10,000 views per video, things like that. So it was kind of steady there, but I wouldn't be discouraged by subscriber numbers. Like, these days, YouTube's algorithm has changed a lot from 2015. Subscriber count, from what I can see, barely matters at all anymore. Like, I posted, like, I've got a second channel with, I don't want to say how many subscribers it has, but it's not as many as my main channel. And I posted a Kerbal Space Program video to that channel, and it got 200,000 views on a channel that was like tiny by comparison to mine. And it wasn't even a KSP focused channel. So I think if people watch it, the algorithm will publish it. And I feel like within the last couple of years, I've noticed on my recommendations feed, there'll be videos with like less than 100 views being promoted to me. And obviously there's this new hype feature as well. I don't really know how it works, but if you've got less than 500,000 subscribers, I think, you can get
people
hyped.
can hype for
I don't
the
really
first
understand how it
week.
works.
Yeah, for the
Is
first
that
week you can hype, and then so the smaller the channel is, the more like hype points they get. And by the way, if you're watching, feel free to hype this video. But yeah, you get hype points, and the smaller channels get more hype points. And I'm not exactly sure how that converts, but I apparently it helps push it towards the algorithm a little bit harder.
Yeah, so like a high point have a greater impact on a channel with 1 subscriber versus a channel with 200,000 subscribers. Was my understanding. I must admit I didn't really look too far into it because I'm not eligible for the hype feature. So, but I know it's a thing that helps smaller channels basically. So, but don't do it wanting the paycheck. Like for me, it was a couple of years before I was earning money on YouTube. Partly my fault because I was using copyrighted music. But it was a long time before it was having a meaningful impact on like being able to go out part time, for example, in the main job. And I still haven't quit my day job, you know, partly because I don't like the fact that there is no job security on the internet. Like just this year, there was the big view apocalypse where even channels like Linus Tech Tips were like, if this continues, we're gonna have to lay off people. Like, and there were other channels who were saying like, I'm gonna have to go back to the day job if this sticks. And like, who knows if that's when that's gonna happen again? Can channels just die? So it's I would feel very nervous being solely reliant on YouTube, and unless you're like obviously someone like Mr. Beast, where if your channel fails, well, you're a multimillionaire. It's fine.
I think he's actually crossed. I don't want to put words on. I think he's actually crossed a billionaire now. I think he's up to $1 billion, which is just, it boggles my mind that someone, on YouTube managed to get that kind of
Well, he
following.
obviously has his Amazon Prime show now, doesn't
Right.
he? Which probably paid pretty handsomely.
I'm sure
But
it
yes,
did, yeah.
guys, subscribe to my channel. I would very much like to be a billionaire.
Yes.
And then when I'm a billionaire, we can do another one of these videos. You can ask me how great my life is. So
Yeah,
looking
from
forward
your
to
yacht.
that.
From your yacht.
From my yacht.
Yeah. Parked next to Gabe Newell's.
I'll do it on New Shepherd. I'll book a ticket on New Shepherd. It'll be a very quick interview, but
I look forward to it. So do you mind weighing in on, what the kitten astronauts, what you would prefer them to be called? A lot of people have said catastronauts. I know Shadow Zone said catastronauts, and I saw that really pushed on YouTube as well.
So I saw a suggestion from someone. So for what I like cats. Throughout this interview, you probably couldn't pick it up on my microphone, but I haven't fed my cats yet, and it's like their dinner time, and they've just been scratching at my door and meowing at me. So I have 2 cats. I like cats. I don't like the fact that the Kitten Space Agency is about kittens. It just feels like the lowest common denominator of like internet humor. Like if this game was being made in 2010, it would be Bacon Space Agency, wouldn't it? Do you know how everyone was obsessed with bacon in 2010? And at the moment, it seems to be kittens. I saw a suggestion from a YouTube comment or a Reddit comment. I can't remember where I saw it, but if you made this comment, you'll know. Someone suggested Kitten Space Agency. So rather than it just being kittens, it's like Animal Crossing, basically. So those sorts of characters. And I don't know, there's something about the kitten model. Like people seem to like the kitten model. There's just something a little bit uncanny about it. And I have a kitten that looks exactly like Hunter as well. I wonder if I open my door, he'll come in. Wait. There he is. He wants to be fed. So this one that you can't really see. This has now just become the cat show. This one is Hurricane, the other one was called Whiskey.
Well, like I said, now that there's cats on it, it'll probably get more views.
There you go, yeah. Look at the camera. Get us some views. They're just nagging me for food.
I think that idea of Critter Space Agency is really interesting. Because you could just have all types of different animals. But, I mean, if you were to choose, is that what you would have chosen? Or would you have just chosen, like, maybe humans or some type of fictional character?
I think, like, having, like, sort of the chibi Animal Crossing style, I think would have been great. Like, having some sort of, like, human astronauts, but, like, stylized, not just, like, photorealistic. I think just the cat, I don't know, it's, like, it's cartoonish, but it's not cartoonish enough. I don't know. I mean, it's obviously a work in progress model, so I can't criticize it too much. I don't want to be critical of the game really, because as we've said, it's just a tech demo at the moment. So, but yeah, those are my thoughts. I mean, if the Kitten Space Agency is what the community seems to have decided they want, then that's fine. I mean, I think it was your video with Dean Hall. I've seen a couple of interviews; they all kind of bleed together, where he said that if people like if the fact that it's kittens is the main problem people have with the game, then they have succeeded, because it's the least important part of the game. And I don't know if you've seen, someone's already made a mod that adds Kerbals to the game.
I did see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I knew it would be the first mod. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I didn't think it would come quite this early, but yeah.
I mean, it's very, very janky, but yeah, it's just funny that we already have a Kerbal in Kitten Space Agency.
And it is just hilarious that people have gotten to it that quickly. But yeah, thanks so much for taking the time out to talk to me today. I've had a blast chatting with you. Is there anything else you'd like to mention before we go?
No, I don't think so. I think we've been talking for nearly an hour, haven't we? So I think we've covered most of the ground that there is to cover with regard to KSP and KSP2 and KSA. But yeah, it's been fun.
Thanks.